Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of The Quiet Gardener with Rose, and I am Rose. So, we've made it to episode 4, and I have stayed on task with my 20-minute podcast episodes here. So, today I have a new topic, and it came from an article I've seen online. Actually, it's not just one article, there are several articles about this particular person all over the internet. They've been writing about this woman for probably a couple of years. I don't know. But anyway, the articles I am talking about are in reference to Naomi Campbell. Now, for those of you who don't know, Naomi Campbell was one of the first supermodels back in the 90s. And I will say that she is from my youth. And I definitely followed her career. I definitely saw her as some kind of icon. I remember just being a young woman at the time when she was pretty popular. I was in my early teens. She and I are about the same age. And I wanted to be a supermodel. Now, let me preface this by saying I was tall and skinny as a young person. And so by the time I was in fifth grade, I was already like 5'5" or 5'6" or something. And so I just knew I was going to be like 5'8", 5'9". And I was thin, so I just knew I had the physique for to be a model. And she was really an icon for me. Not just her, but also the other supermodels of the era, Cindy Crawford, all of those people back then. Yeah, that was my time. But needless to say, I kind of slowed down my growth. Um, I reached 5'6", and then it just kind of slowed to a halt, and ultimately I tapped out at 5'7". So, needless to say, I did not reach the height that was necessary to be a model. But yeah, she has always been just an icon of a beautiful woman, beautiful model. And that's all I really know about her career as a model. I don't follow celebrities, as I said before, but as a kid, she was one that I thought highly of. But what has happened most recently is she's in her 50s and she has decided she wanted to have kids. And I guess she waited late in life to decide that and ended up having to use a surrogate to have her two children. And it appears she has one boy and one girl, and they are fairly young. They're still under school age, I guess, at this point. I do not know if she used her actual DNA, her eggs, or if she used somebody else's. All the articles say is that she used a surrogate. Now, the reason why this has stood out to me is because she has been going around, it appears, to all the outlets talking about having children later in life and how she wants to send a message to young women. Listen up, young women. She wants to send a message to young women not to wait until you're older to have kids, because according to her, the women of today, young women, feel the kids are too expensive, and so they're just foregoing that. And she says, well, you'll definitely change your mind and want them once you get older, as I did, and have to go through all of this mess of surrogates, etc., etc. Now, I will give her credit. I'm not here to bash celebrities. I just, pull what comes up in my feed when I open up my web browser. This is the stuff that actually pops up. And so I'm not trying to bash Naomi Campbell. She does at least admit that she made some mistakes and that she should have been thinking about procreation and having children, raising children at a much younger age. So she does admit that. However, my issue with her is that she really makes no mention of a father for these kids. A matter of fact, in at least one of the articles, she is quoted as saying that she was never looking for a father for her children. that she does that her children don't need a father. That children don't need a father. Her children don't need a father, or children don't need a father. So basically saying the male is irrelevant, I guess, other than giving his sperm DNA, he's irrelevant. And I take big issue with that statement. Okay. So at the bottom line of this is that she's encouraging young women to go ahead and have kids. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about all those details. Just do it. Which I agree with that to a certain extent, in that you're only fertile for so long as a woman, and then you run into all these complications and fertility issues, et cetera, et cetera. So I do agree that you have to think about this at a fairly young age. You need to be thinking about this in your 20s if you actually want to have children, especially if you want to have more than one. Okay, that's a biological fact. But my issue with her is that there is no mention or no importance placed upon having children in the context of a marriage. Marriage, I said it. Yes, I believe children should be produced in the context of marriage. So not only does she not mention marriage, which is bad enough, but she doesn't even mention it being in the context of a loving union between a man and a woman. According to her, you don't even need the man. Why is you just need his DNA sample and you're good to go, which is absurd. Bottom line of it is men and women are equally important in terms of producing and raising children in this society. They have always been important in terms of producing and raising children in society. So let's not act like because things are more modern and because women do have children without husbands and people do raise children as single parents, both men and women, but that's the ideal situation. It is not. Both men and women have a unique and irreplaceable contribution to their production and rearing and raising of children. Okay, there are things that a mother can give a child that a man cannot, and vice versa, and they both are necessary. So, to me, it is irresponsible and reckless to go around advising people, young people, any people, to just go out there and have a kid outside of the context of marriage, outside of the context of a stable and happy union between a man and a woman, because I don't know how else you're going to produce kids. You have to have those two things. This is a biological fact, nothing to do with societal stuff. This is a biological fact. You have to have X and a Y chromosome. Okay. So, um, yeah, so I just found that a little bit off putting. She mentions that she was raised by a single mother herself. And I would think after that experience and growing up, she would realize the value that having a father present in the home might have had for her. Um, but it sounds like she's just kind of repeating generational patterns. So there's that. I will tell you now, I always bring my own experience into these conversations because, as I've said before, I've been there, done it all. I've made all the mistakes. And I will tell you that I was married before I had my first child, but I actually got divorced. And so, because I got divorced, I ended up being a single parent in the sense that I had my own household and I did what I did, and my ex husband had his own household. So, although we collaborated in raising my daughter, um, it was still a single parent kind of situation. In addition to that, I had a second child, a son, and I was not married. I had that child in the context of a long term 10-year relationship, and I was not married. And I will tell you, it was a much more difficult road to hoe, as they say, being a single parent versus having an intact, loving family. So don't don't uh, don't be deluded into thinking that oh, it'll be fine. I can do everything a man can do, or I can do everything a woman can do. I can just raise this kid by myself. People do it all the time out of necessity. And obviously, if you have a strong support network of family and friends, you can compensate for not having that other partner. But let me tell you, raising my children as a single mother was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And if I had had a happy union, a cooperative spouse, it would have been so much easier for me. And beyond that, I would have had the opportunity to engage and enjoy it much more. Because I was a single working parent, a career woman, um, a lot of things I couldn't be available for. You can't do everything. Even if you're in a marriage and you're sharing responsibilities, you can't, if you're working full time as a woman or man, you can't be there for every single experience, event, you know, activity that the kid has going on. You just physically can't do it. There aren't enough hours in the day, and eventually there are conflicts in the schedule. And I remember as a young woman just feeling like I was running ragged, just running from place to place, running to drop the kids off super, super at old dark 30, at daycare before school so that I could go to work because I had to be at work before school started. And then they would go to school and then getting off of work and running to pick them up from daycare. And if there were after school activities, running to get to those and trying to get them something to eat in between that. And I will tell you, that it was a whirlwind. And so I am certain that I did not have the opportunity or freedom to fully engage myself emotionally, mentally, physically, in a lot of the things they had going on throughout their life because I had to do a lot of stuff. I had to do it all. I had to make sure the bills got paid. I had to make sure the meals were on the table. I had to make sure they got from point A to point B. And so trying to negotiate all of that alone was very, very difficult. And if I had it to do over again, honestly, I would have never initiated a divorce. Now, that's a whole nother topic. We don't have time for that in 20 minutes. Not to say that I necessarily regrets not being with my ex-husband because he and I were not well suited for each other, and neither of us had any idea of what we were doing when we got married. We did not know the significance of marriage, the seriousness, the role of Christ, God in marriage. We had a secular wedding. We didn't know any of that. We were young, we were naive, we were in love, and we just thought love would see us through. So, love is not enough, let me tell you. Yeah. So that was not enough. So at the end of the day, we were both ill equipped to spend a lifetime sacrificing and putting each other first. And so things fell apart. All that to say though, regardless, if I knew then what I know now, I would have made more of a concentrated effort to make that marriage successful because I had already committed to it. And now, seeing the seriousness of that commitment, I would not be so quick to go say I want a divorce or to file for divorce. So I would have did things a lot differently. And I did initiate my divorce. And, being the independent woman that I was back then, my mindset and how I was raised was that if you're not happy, you don't continue in something, right? If you're not happy, you get out of it. But happiness is such a transient feeling, let me tell you. And happiness is not the responsibility of the other, it's not the responsibility of your mate to make sure you're happy. That's up to you. And I did not understand those contextual and complicated things as a young woman when I got married. But all of that to say, back to my point, was that this idea that young women should just go out, have kids, don't wait, don't worry about money, just do it while you're young. There is a kernel of truth in that, your fertility is definitely limited by biological reasons. Um, but I firmly believe that you should not be out there having kids outside of the context of marriage. At the end of the day, a father is just as important as a mother. And if I can be frank with you, when it comes to male children, a father is more important than a mother once that kid reaches puberty. Period. End of story. Matter of fact, I would suggest to many of these single mothers out there that when your sons reach 10, 11, 12, that you go send them to live with their fathers full time because mothers are pertinent in the early years of nurturing, in that stage where your kid needs love and attention and coddling and affection and being held and fed and all caretaking, all of those things. You are wonderful and irreplaceable in that area. When we're talking about creating men who are going to go out in the world and be responsible, be mature, be led by rational thinking and logic instead of emotion, that's where the fathers come in. And I do not think a woman, I don't care how well versed she thinks she is, how educated she thinks she is, I do not believe that a woman can replace that role of teaching a young man how to go into manhood, be a man, ultimately learn how to be a provider, a good husband, a good father, all of those things that men teach men. I said it, you heard it here, I'll repeat it. I believe that the father figure is more important in the development of young men from the age of puberty on than the mother will ever be. Period. End of story. So if you think I don't need no man to raise my sons, I don't need no man to raise my kids, I can do it all on my own and they'll be just fine, you are sorely mistaken. And you will see that play out as they mature into young adults. So I think I've said enough on that one. She does have one boy and one girl, Naomi Campbell, and the pictures she showed of them, they were all out hugging a tree, literally tree hugging. And I'm like, okay. So I can only hope that there are some strong male role models in her life for this male child. I question it because she is a supermodel. I'm assuming probably a lot of the males she associates with are on the more effeminate side, etc. In that model fashion industry. Yeah. So hopefully that is something she has thought about or will think about down the road. And the rest, time will tell. I'm sure she maybe she has money to hire nannies and babysitters and all of this stuff. So she's not running as ragged as I was as a normal person. But I will tell you, and any working mother will tell you, whether she has a husband or not, that it is really difficult to parent young children while trying to maintain a career, job, home, relationships, all of the stuff that we are required to do. It's really difficult, and it's even more difficult if you decide to go that road alone. So, if nothing else that you've heard me say in this episode, hear me. It is best to have children in the context of a happy marital union. And that is all. So that is the end of episode 4. I've kept it pretty short today, but I don't need to go on and on about these topics. I have a very clear and concise opinion on it, and that's that. And even if you disagree, that's okay. It's just my opinion. It's just your opinion. So let me know what you think about this concept of you don't need no man to raise no child, not even a male child. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below, and I will return next week with another episode of The Quiet Gardener. Until then, bye.